I was driving down the motorway at the weekend because I was going to a hike and I was driving at 70 miles an hour. And I was sat there within the speed limit, by the way. But I was sat there thinking, God, this is quite dangerous when you think about it, in the fact that we're in this kind of metal box, driving and going faster than, our bodies could on foot. And there's loads of us all firing away on the motorway or highway. And how crazy that is. And I was just looking at all the cars. There's so many cars all just driving. And I was like, how did we get to this point where this becomes normal? That this is our tolerance level. And there's this word tolerance that I've been exploring recently and thinking how we all got to a point where driving 70 miles an hour in a metal box is normal. Because it's kind of crazy when you think about it. And then I had quite a long drive. I had a 4-hour drive. So I got really thinking about this topic of tolerance in the car whilst driving. And I was thinking about how in other areas of life, we create these pockets of, I guess it's the comfort zone, but the tolerance of where we find things are normal for us. And if you compare it to someone else, they might have a different tolerance. And so let's take driving, for example. Me driving at 70 miles an hour felt kind of normal. To some other people, that's just too fast. For some people, it's not fast enough. And it really got me thinking about how that is like in life too. And especially as we approach money goals and the way we live our lives and the kind of creative that we are, and how slowly over time we build up a tolerance in so many areas of our lives, driving being one of them. When you think about it, it will sit amongst money and all these different areas of our life, and even physical health and the way we think too. We have tolerance levels in the way we think. And so I was talking to my friend once we'd hiked, and I was talking about having a second home because I've just bought a house, and having a second home just feels completely ludicrous. But I was talking to her about, I was thinking about my 5-year vision. I'm running my 7 Keys program at the moment. And one of the first steps in that is to think ahead and to think about, if you 10x'd your money goal or you 10x'd your vision, doesn't have to be related to money, what would that look like? And it really pushes you out of your tolerance level to think about things in a different way. And then you can start to see what comes up in terms of mindset and what blocks you have, and what, if you start to talk yourself out of that vision, what's getting in your way. And one of the things that came up for me was having a second home, a home where I could just retreat to, that is away from the everyday hustle bustle life. And actually, where I live right now, I feel, for me, I like it. It ticks boxes, but there's something missing spiritually, and I'd like to maybe live near the sea. So I've been talking about it a lot. And I was talking to my friend about the idea of having a second home. And it was so interesting because my friend then started to come up with all the reasons why having a second home would be difficult. That was her first response, was, oh yeah, but it would be really expensive because who would be living in it when you're not there, and who would be taking care of it? And it was really interesting to see her brain just go into all the problems. And actually, I was thinking in the opposite. I was thinking, well, you could get, you'd have a cleaner and you could get an agent to rent it out, and thinking in a more stretched view of, deep down that probably seems crazy to me, but why not? And I have adopted this thinking recently where I think it's great to look for potential issues, by the way, and that's okay when you're going into something, to look at, oh, I maybe need to think about this or think about this. But if it's stopping you taking the steps towards what you want to do, actually looking at the opposite of, how could I make this easier on myself? Or how could I have a house that I just use and money is no object? It's those kinds of questions that are really powerful. And it goes back to tolerance. And so I was thinking about this recently, about how in life we can turn up the dial on the tolerance and be noticing it too, about how we might have adjusted or created a life that feels like we're at full capacity. Like there's no way we could do any more than we're doing now because I'm at I'm at capacity, or I'm stretched financially. There's no way I could take any more holidays, or there's no way I could buy, have my own studio. There's no way I could do this because my tolerance, I've hit the level of my tolerance there, or, and it's actually interesting that I've been reading a book recently where it talks about how there are no limits in life. The only limits that exist are the ones that we place on our perception of what is available to us. And I love that way of thinking. When you get rid of the constraints and the perceived limits, and you just think in abundant ways instead, it kind of lifts the lid off, and it's kind of exciting, and you start to ask different questions. And so I encourage you this week to think about your own tolerance and your own levels that you've created in your own life. And I'm always asking myself, how can I raise my tolerance a bit this week? And that might look different to you than it will to me, but in terms of just pushing myself a little bit further out of my comfort zone, walking a little bit further than I think I possibly can, saving up a little bit more than I think that I can, or spending a little bit more. And it's not about being reckless, but it's about expanding and getting out of that limit that we've placed on ourselves without even realizing, the comfort zone. So that's it for this week. I've been pondering that, and I thought I'd share it with you. And I'll let you know as the weeks go on how I go with this, because I'm really focusing on this a lot recently. And I'm lifting the lid off what I believe is possible in my own life, and really talking about things that I could do and achieve in the future that are really making me feel very uncomfortable. And one thing I'll just end on that, in terms of me stretching my tolerance levels, is that I have started to think about myself in the future, 5 years from now, and what I could be doing. And some of those things were kind of raising money for charity, and having the second home, and there's this event called Mind Valley University for children, and I'd like to take my children to Mind Valley University. And in my head I was thinking, this is 5 years from now. And what I've started to do is speak about those things like they are going to happen. Not that I'd love to do that. I've actually started to say, I'm going to take Morgan and Isaac to Mind Valley University. I'm going to take them to Bali for a month. I'm going to invest 15,000 into charity next year. I am going to have a second home. And I've started to say these things that are on my big vision for 5 years from now. And it's really interesting how, like, oh my gosh, it's making me feel all the feels. But now I've started to say it, I'm starting to think this is going to happen sooner than 5 years. Why am I waiting 5 years for all of this stuff? Why, why extend it out to 5 years from now? And I guess because a few weeks ago, when I took the 7 Keys course, this vision that I'm talking about now and expanding my life felt so ludicrous and stupid that I had to say it was 5 years, because I felt ridiculous saying it. And even when I was saying it to people, I was like, this is my 5-year plan, trying to kind of justify that. I know this sounds crazy. It'll be 5 years from now when it happens. And then I thought, wow, I'm even putting a time limit on this. So now I'm just thinking to myself, well, it could be 5 years, it could be 3, it could be 2, who knows? Let's go for this and get excited about it and talk about it as if it's going to happen. And this is what I love about this part, is that if it doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. I'm not setting myself up for failure. I'm not aiming for something that I'm going to be really disappointed with if I don't get it. I'm declaring things, and I'm going to go towards it because I feel excited about it, and I'll see where I go. If I don't get there, it doesn't matter. And I love this part of thinking this way, because it's win-win. when you truly think that way, it's like it doesn't matter which one happens. Either way, it's great. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this, stretching myself out my comfort zone and then saying the things that are in my future, that they are happening, and I'm sharing them. So yeah, we'll see where this goes, and I'm excited because soon we'll start behind the scenes doing some work on planning for 2025. We've got some really amazing things lined up for next year, and I like this time of year because I start to think about my best year yet and designing my life, which I'll be sharing more about very soon. So this is the start of me thinking about all of this, to think about how I'm going to design my life in the future. So have a great week, my friends, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.